I was going to a red carpet. I was going to walk the press line, and it was super exciting. The studio sent a limo, and I took Peggy McGinnis and left Jim at home. And I remember sitting in the back of that limousine as he's backing out of the driveway, and Jim on the porch. It broke his heart. What should have been this incredible high became this incredibly emotional low, and it was so sad. That became really the first point in my life and career where I realized that I wasn't going to be good at this dual life. Being in the closet while I was trying to be an actor, for me, wasn't going to really work. I was a super active, overachiever kind of kid, right? And I think that some of that was masking the stuff that was going on inside. I went to Juilliard for theater, but I got a job out of Juilliard and decided to move to Los Angeles to start my career. I was a young leading man in Hollywood trying to work as an actor in the middle of this sort of homophobic world. You weren't supposed to talk about your sexuality unless you were, super straight and had a girlfriend. And at that time in the mid 80s, it was the Brat Pack. It was Rob Lowe and Judd Nelson and Emilio Estevez, and those were the guys that were getting the work, and they were sort of edgy and kind of rude and rough. They would wear black clothes and steel-toed boots even though they didn't work in a factory. And I remember one of my agents saying to me, "You don't always have to stand up when a woman comes into the room. Slouch a little bit more." But that wasn't who I was. I was in Hollywood trying to negotiate all of these lanes. The young leading man, actor, television, film career lane, being in a relationship with somebody who was 13 years older than me and way beyond me in the acceptance and, his own path. He was way far ahead of me. And also this world where the AIDS crisis was just heating up and people were literally dying all around us. People we knew. People in middle America, people all over the world didn't know gay people. Or if they knew gay people, they didn't know that they were gay because we were all sort of hiding. I remember my friend Chris Stryker coming over to my house right before I went home for Christmas. As I said goodbye to him, he walked out the door, turned around, and he said through the screen door, "Mitchell, if you don't come out to your parents, you're killing me." And that, for some reason, sunk in. I was still trying to process my own vision of my world, how I had this, idea of what my life was going to be, and then this reality set in and my life was going to be something else. To tell a funny story, Jim and I went to a protest, and it was a protest against a proposition on the California ballot that was going to quarantine people, gay men with AIDS. That was the fear around it. We were marching, in clothes like this, like polo shirts and jeans. Then we passed this news camera. Good Morning America ran a story about the protests, and they had footage of Jim and me with our dog marching, sandwiched between two groups of guys in full-on leather, like chaps and vests and armbands and stuff. And I'm not kidding you, the phone rang immediately, and it was my mother. She had seen it. And I was like, I've got to come out because I can't do this. Like, I can't be in all of these worlds and try to be good at all of them. When I came out, my mom, in tears, said, "But you'd be such a great father." And my dad, in that same moment, said, "But you know what? You're a terrific uncle." It was the beginning of the next phase. Because then mom and dad have to do some work themselves. All the work that I had done the last couple of years and talking to the therapists and stuff, they had to then begin the work to try to reimagine what Mitchell's life was going to be. It was really, really hard for mom for most of my life to get to a point where it was not only okay, because okay is not really good enough. As a gay person, that's hard. when you watch your mother struggle. When I moved out to Los Angeles, I got literally the very first job I went in for on Hill Street Blues, which at that time, Hill Street Blues was the big Emmy-winning show. I was on 21 Jump Street. I was on Jake and the Fat Man, Matlock, and Highway to Heaven, guest star parts on all these shows. And then I got Jaws: The Revenge. I remember reading for Ferris Bueller's Day Off, thinking, oh my God, totally can get this part, before I knew that they were, pretty much already casting Matthew Broderick. But there were all those parts that I was up for. The very next job I got was playing Richard Carpenter in the Karen Carpenter story. And that really established me as being able to, have a big part in a big television production. That movie was the #1 rated TV movie of the whole year. I also that year did a big movie with Robert Urich. I was the third lead in that. And then I got Doogie Howser. On Doogie Howser, I played Dr. Jack McGuire, the super heterosexual, skirt-chasing, handsome doctor who was sort of all over the hospital and sort of Doogie's main rival. And then I totally freaked out because I was on a weekly television show. I was getting paid a decent amount of money. There was further to fall. When things should have been going great, it was really almost the lowest part of my career because I was so scared. Being gay or being different makes you have more empathy. And as an actor, that really helps you. I don't know if the theater or show business attracts gay people because they're gay, or if you're gay, you have more ability to access those parts of your life and those parts of your personality and those parts of your emotion. And I think that really does make you a better actor. So if you are in a situation where you're asked to do a big emotional scene, if you're leaving half of who you are behind because you can't physically draw on that, or you don't want people to know that part of you, I think it diminishes your ability and it doesn't help you show up. The best actors that you see out there are people that can wholeheartedly, in their body and their soul and their emotion, jump in and be present. I think I was definitely compartmentalizing myself out of need. I think that we were not necessarily instructed to, but advised, sort of roundabout, to compartmentalize, to keep those parts of your life separate. After Doogie Howser, I began to question myself in terms of how I was being able to show up because I didn't want to be out. At the same time, we were also becoming more aware of the necessity to be political. AIDS funding under Ronald Reagan was zero. Finally, at the end of his term, he began to understand it. After Rock Hudson got sick and died, they understood that, oh my God, big famous people can get this disease. We better maybe do something about it. There were a lot of people out there screaming and yelling, and that's how we changed the trajectory of research and treatment, and also people being kind to each other and understanding and realizing that you can be in the same room as somebody who has HIV and not get it. There's all those misunderstandings and all the fear. I wasn't out, but I was still working sort of in the gay community, organizing gay people to vote and to get out there and be part of the solution, right? And change the administration. We did this huge fundraiser in the LGBT community. We raised $200,000, and it was my thing, and it was super exciting, and I was so proud of it, and it made a difference. And then Barbara Boxer was elected, and Dianne Feinstein was elected, and Bill Clinton was elected, and in 1992, the world seemed to shift in 1994, I got Party of Five, which was a couple really beautiful scenes in this little pilot that was shot in Vancouver. And it was this great show that made, you read the script for the pilot and just made you cry, because it was about this 5 kids whose parents were gone and they were just trying to figure out how to live. And it was just beautiful, and it was beautifully shot, and it was beautifully cast. And then about halfway through the first season of Party of Five, the producers called me to their office. They said, we're gonna have your character come out. They decided to sort of have art imitate my life. And then I became this, in the beginning part of showing gay representation on television. And it was beautiful, and I was proud of it, and I loved the work and the words that they were giving me to say. I remember sitting outside in front of my house, reading that script with tears rolling down my cheeks, thinking, if I never do another hour of television, this will matter. God, it makes me emotional to think about, because I feel like in all of the challenges and the complex, negotiations with my emotions and family and all of that stuff, I feel like I've been really fortunate to have been given these moments that really mean something. And that was one of them. I felt like that was a beautiful piece of art that exists, out in the world, and I was part of it. They sent me to the GLAAD Awards in Los Angeles to be one of the presenters. At that time, if you were asked in the press about your home life, you just kind of deflected, right? But now I'm playing this gay character on kind of a hit television show, and they said, what's it like to play a gay character when you're straight? I remember deflecting that question again as I went through the press line. I literally walked on stage, and I had copy that I was supposed to read. And I said, look, before I present this award, I want you to get something straight. On my way through the press line, I was asked what it's like to play a gay character when you're straight. While I didn't say it then, I want you all to know now, I can't answer that particular question, because I play a gay character on television, and as it happens, I'm actually gay. And that's the moment my life changed. The immediate reaction at the award show was overwhelming. The entire room stood up and cheered. It was like this sort of wave. I was a little stunned. I'm sure I was shaking. I walked off stage, and this man tapped me on the shoulder and said, you better call your mother. Suddenly, everything in my life came into focus. I was playing this character that I was super proud of on a show that I was super proud of. I had done a lot of political work that I was also very proud of, and it all came together. The unexpected consequence was I became the face of gay Hollywood. And I was on the cover of all the magazines, and I was doing Entertainment Tonight and Access Hollywood interviews. And this is pre-Ellen. This is 1996, where if you were a young leading man, you didn't talk about this. It was something that I never really put together, that it was going to be that momentous. But I do think that there was a sense amongst my friends who were also in the business, other actors who had not come out or not come out yet, or were never going to come out, that they were sort of like looking at me like, what the fuck did you do? Both in a good way and a like, what the fuck, really? When you have a moment in your life that you're able to take a stand, not a lot of people get that. It was the defining moment of who I became. It's like before and after, before that night of 1996 and after. When you are starting to understand your sexuality, you start by not being able to picture yourself past 30. You can't see your life because you don't have that, you don't have the vocabulary, you don't have the images. But then you get older and things start falling away. Fear starts falling away. You understand that people are going to be kind to you, that you're not going to get yelled at or gay bashed or whatever and at every step of the way, and you're going to get accepted, and people change. The more I accepted myself, the more work I did on myself to love myself as I am, the more I was able to let anybody else be whoever they are, whatever they are. Everything's good. Coming out helps that. There's something universal about the struggle and the triumph. The struggle you go through to understand who you are and your sexuality and how you fit in the world, and then the triumph of coming through it and being able to get to the other side. I think that that's cool, that we have that in common with other gay people. Break my